I wanted to talk today about building the air section of your broken arrow deck. I've seen a lot of people in my recent matches that likely don't understand the different aircraft armament mechanics, as the game doesn't do a great job of explaining them. I'm going to start with the most important armament you should always have on at least one plane, which is anti-radiation. So, anti-radiation, sometimes called harm missiles, target enemy anti-air that has their radar set to active. This is key if you plan to use any other aircraft so that they can arrive and drop their ordnance safely. Anti-radiation missiles can be shot down by anti-air that can target cruise missiles or other type of large missiles, so it's not always a guaranteed kill, but still extremely useful. Next, I'm going to cover laser-guided air-to-ground missiles and bombs. They work very similarly, besides their effective range and height that they need to be dropped from. For example, the one I have selected here can either be laser-guided or can freely target vehicles. As an example of this, I picked a drone that has laser guidance, which you can either select in the bottom right or press L to use, and you'll know that's working if you have a green laser going towards the target you've selected. Then on the plane, you're going to select it, press P, and then mark near where the laser is. And that will drop the laser-guided munition on the laser. So a few notes on this. While certain planes can take their own laser designator, it's almost always better to have a ground unit provide a laser to the target, so your plane is in the area for a shorter amount of time and is less likely to get shot down. If you lose sight of the target, but know its general area, or don't have a laser to designate with, you can freely drop laser-guided munitions by just pressing P with the aircraft selected, and then selecting where you want it to drop the guided munition with left click. This just won't be as accurate as when you have the target lased. And lastly, the missile shown here can freely target vehicles without needing a laser designation, and to do that, just select the aircraft and right-click the vehicle you want it to fire at. So next I'll cover different types of bombs and guided munitions you can take. So the one I'm currently looking at is a cluster bomb, which is used to take out vehicles with top armor damage. They usually have high penetration and decent damage to help take out tanks or other armored vehicles. Next is just regular bombs. These are most effective against lightly armored vehicles and infantry. And the last type of munition I want to cover is incendiary munitions. These do damage over time and top armor damage to anything that they land on and anything that continues to sit in them. Long, medium, and short range AA can all be shot at aircraft targets. Specifically, short range can also target helicopters, but you will need to go to low altitude to do that. So now going over ECM and flares. So flares essentially give you a coin flip on whether to be hit by a missile or not. It's about 50-50. And then ECM is just a flat percent chance for a missile not to hit you. Sensors will give your plane additional range to see low altitude and high altitude targets. It will not help to see ground targets though, at least on non-drone aircraft. And then kind of the main reason I wanted to make this video is to explain the difference between high drag or retarded bombs and regular bombs. And it's the main thing I've seen people miss out on the advantages and disadvantages of in their games. For example, here this Su-24 is lining up for a bombing run, and it's going to be able to stay at low altitude as it does that bombing run here. And that's because all of its bombs are high drag bombs. And just as another little note about aircraft, I'm going to activate its afterburner here as I'm sending it back to base. That's going to use more fuel, but it will travel faster. So you're probably asking why this actually matters, and it comes down to how the anti-air works in this game. So if you look at this S-300 here, its range is 4,300. But if it has its radar turned on, that gets doubled at high altitude, which means it's hitting you all the way out to 8,600 meters, as long as it can see your plane. Versus at low altitude, it's only going out to 5,300 or so. So this can make a huge difference in your usage of flares and likelihood that your attack aircraft are actually going to make it to the target that they're trying to hit. And this is the reason why the nukes in this game, although they're super cool, don't usually make it to the target and actually get to drop, is because they're required to be dropped from high altitude. The American nuclear bombers are in the worst position because they have to fly at high altitude directly over the target and drop the tactical nuke. On the other hand, you have the Russian long-range nuclear cruise missile, but the issue with that is it can also get shot down by the same AA because that cruise missile has to come in at high altitude. So hopefully I've convinced you to run some high drag bombs and low altitude flyers that can help avoid some AA and take out some ground targets. And if not, I hope I've at least taught you something about how to better mark targets for some of the longer range, high altitude launched aircraft munitions.
We're in the pipe, 5 by 5.
Oh my God!